Black and gold fans, college football fans, welcome in or welcome back to the Touchdown Black and Gold vlog, where we examine, discuss, honor, and celebrate all things college football across the entire college football landscape, but with a very special emphasis on our beloved black and gold squads of the Missouri Tigers and the Iowa Hawkeyes. Welcome back, guys. I'm your host, Blair Parks. This is my instant reaction and recap episode for the updated college football playoff rankings that were unveiled just a couple of hours ago by the Playoff Rankings Committee down there in the Lone Star State. And I got some good, bad, and ugly things to say as far as what these updated college football rankings reflect. Now, we had a good amount of movement post week 12. I mean, we saw a lot of games that highly affected where some of these updated rankings are for this team or that team. So I can't wait to get to it. And just like my two previous instant reaction recap episodes to these college football playoff rankings, first of all, I'm going to give you what the updated top 12 is, according to the experts of the committee. And then I'm going to share with you what my projected top 12 was, the top 12 that I wrote down, typed up earlier this afternoon, and then just some basic comments. What teams on the updated rankings I believe are overrated, who's underrated, who shouldn't be ranked or rated, and a couple teams who should be ranked instead of those who should not be, according to me. So before I say anything else, before we get this dog and pony show on the road, I just need to give shout outs and thank yous to all of you for making the channel a huge success. Lately, we have really gained a lot of momentum. Everything is trending in the right direction, guys. Views, subscriptions, comments, shares, everything. And that is all thanks to you, the Black and Gold family, all of you college football fans. Now remember, the Touchdown Black and Gold vlog is not just for fans and friends of our black and gold squads, but for all college football fans alike. This is a safe haven. This is a place to gather and share our love and passion for all things college football. And none of this, guys, would be possible without you, your support, your time, your attention. Thank you very much for all that you do. And please, let's keep this good momentum going. Please click and subscribe. Click the button if you like what you see or what you hear. Tell your fellow college football fanatics, your coworkers, friends, family members to check me out here on the Touchdown Black and Gold vlog. And as always, before we get this going, I always like to remind you, the viewer, that I always encourage and welcome and ask for your participation. Please comment on anything that you hear or see during this episode, and I promise you I will respond to each and every one of you individually to your comment that you post about this episode. So please, guys, participate, comment, let me know if you agree, disagree with what I might say. Should I add something, take something out? If you want to call me an absolute buffoon, that's fine, or a dirty SOB, that's totally up to you. All I ask is, guys, that we just keep this adult-like in the comments that we post and share. All right, so without further ado, let's go ahead and get on it. So, via the experts, the committee, this is the updated top 12. Now, yes, I know there's 25 teams, but realistically, at this late in the game, I mean, week 13 is upon us. It's rivalry week. And the thing I love about this year's rivalry week, there is going to be huge ramifications for who wins some of those big-time rivalry games. And plus, too, if you're outside the top 12 this late in the season, you really have little to no chance to make the 4-team college football playoff, the current format that we have. Now, once we go to the 12-team format, then you obviously would still have a really good chance if you were slightly outside of the top 12. But, so according to the committee, guys, here is the updated rankings. Let's start off with number 12. Up 3 spots is the Kansas State Wildcats. Number 11, they stayed exactly where they were last week, is the Penn State Nittany Lions. Number 10, the big faller this week, all right? Dropping 5 big spots is number 10, Tennessee, after that damaging, huge loss at South Carolina over the weekend. I mean, the Gamecocks put up 63 points on previously number 5 Tennessee, who was really just waiting in the wings to get an at-large berth into the college football playoff field. But I think maybe the Volunteers forgotten that Rattlers are poisonous. And do you remember that guy? That former quarterback Spencer Rattler from Oklahoma, who transferred to South Carolina in the offseason via the transfer portal. Last year, he was everyone's preseason Heisman Trophy favorite. Ended up getting benched for Caleb Williams, who now went west with Lincoln Riley to USC. And Spencer Rattler shipped out to Columbia, South Carolina. So, yep, I think they forgot about old Spencer. I think it's like everybody forgot about Dre, like the song goes. So they are the big tumbler this week. To number 10 are the Volunteers. Number 9, up 3 spots, are the Oregon Ducks after their very, very big, impressive victory at home over Utah. Was absolutely a good bounce-back game for the Oregon Ducks. Number 8, up 1 spot, are the Clemson Tigers. I mean, guys, a lot of y'all, including maybe myself, kind of left Clemson for dead, but here they are. They're knocking on the door, up 1 spot from last week. Now, number 7, also up 1 spot from last week with a very big, decisive, impressive victory over the Governors of Austin Peay. I'm talking about the Alabama Crimson Tide, are sitting there at number 7. Number 6, up 1 spot from last week after that instant classic for the Victory Bell Trophy. I'm talking the Battle of LA, which it went this year to USC. The Trojans move up 1 spot after that big victory over UCLA. Number 5, up 1 spot after a very decisive and big victory over UAB, the Blazers. I'm talking about the LSU Tigers move up a spot against, competition that is way, way below them. I mean, both Alabama and LSU guys would probably get much more benefit from just having an inter-squad scrimmage at this point. But that's how Cupcake Week rolls in the SEC each and every year. Number 4. Now, there was no movement within the top 4. Number 4 this week is still TCU after that walk-off victory against Baylor in Waco. Number 3, Michigan, who had to really just gut and grit out a big-time home victory against a game Illinois squad. More on that game here in a little bit. Number 2 is still spelled T-H-E, the Ohio State Buckeyes are number 2. So number 1, still 11-0, the undisputed kings of college football, the best team in the country, the defending national champions, the Georgia Bulldogs. So that's how the committee ranked the top 12, guys. And this afternoon, when I typed out my top 12, a little bit of variance, but I wasn't really that far off. I'll let you guys decide. But first of all, let me know what you think about the committee's top 12. Do you think they got it right? Are they pretty much right, completely right, wrong, a little wrong, way wrong? Let me know what you guys think about what the committee, how they ranked the teams earlier this evening. Now, here's my top 12, guys. Going in post-week 12, going into week 13. At number 12, I had the Penn State Nittany Lions in the 12th spot. Number 11, I had Kansas State. So very close on those teams. The committee just had those 2 teams flip-flopped, so I was close. So 11 was Kansas State. Number 10 was Clemson. I mean, they were victorious over the weekend, but I just don't, it's hard for me to still figure out this team. And what really hurt them was that the team that they're going to be squaring off with next week in the ACC title game, the North Carolina Tar Heels and Heisman candidate Drake May, they lost against a average at best Georgia Tech squad, up 17 points, I believe, at one point. So it really begs to ask me, how good is the ACC? What exactly are we working with here in the Atlantic Coast Conference? So that's why I kept Clemson at number 10, exactly where I had them last week. Number 9, up one spot. I did have Alabama did jump up a spot in my rankings, but still at number 9, they're not clearly in the picture yet, unlike the committee that's got the Crimson Tide there in the 7 hole. Number 8. Now, this is where there's going to be a little bit of debate here, okay? And I get it, but I've made no secret of this, guys. At number 8, I've got the LSU Tigers, down a spot from my last week's projections because, A, Tennessee lost, and I'll get to that here. I already mentioned that, but obviously you haven't heard me say where they are in my projections. But playing a team like UAB, how does that really help you? All right? But I'll talk more on that in a little bit. So I actually had LSU down a spot at number 8. Number 7, my big dropper this week is the Tennessee Volunteers. Guys, I had them in the 4 hole last week. I think this team was just sitting there ready and waiting to get an at-large bid. It's really unfortunate what happened. Having South Carolina put up a 63 burger on them, but also late in the game, quarterback Hendon Hooker, absolutely a Heisman candidate, left the game. And it was revealed late yesterday that he has a ACL injury and he will be lost for the season. So very unfortunate for the Volunteers. I think the Volunteers losing Hendon Hooker really kind of helped in their tumbling in the eyes of the playoff committee, thinking at this point they've got no shot. I mean, they're not a top 4 team now because they lost their Heisman Trophy candidate. I understand that. I don't think it's necessarily fair, but I get it. So I had Tennessee at number 7, down 3 spots. Number 6, my big mover upwards, I got the Oregon Ducks, guys. After that victory over Utah, Bo Nix could hardly even move. And we all know about Bo Nix. He's a dual threat quarterback. He likes to run. He'll turn the ball upfield, whether his number is called or he'll improvise. This guy is a mobile quarterback, but he could not barely even move. And still, Oregon kind of flipped the table on what Utah did to the Ducks, not once, but twice last season. Oregon, came to play. They out-physicaled Utah at their own game. And really, that's a big-time victory for the Ducks. Really a good response game after losing a couple weeks ago at home against the Washington Huskies. So I've got Oregon sitting there in the 6th spot, the second team out, up 3 spots from last week. My first team out, guys, after that big win over a UCLA team that I am very bullish on, and I have been all season. My first team out is USC. I've got them moving up 1 spot to number 5. Number 4. Now, last week I had them the first team out, but with Tennessee losing. Moving into the top 4 is the Michigan Wolverines, up 1 spot, my last team in. Number 3, I've got them moving up 1 spot, is the TCU Horned Frogs in the 3 hole after that big win at Baylor. Number 2, Ohio State, just like last week. And number 1, definitely Georgia, all right? So that's how I projected them, all right? And here's my reasoning why, all right? Oregon, I still think is a top 6 team. I mean, their 2 losses, guys, they're not bad against Georgia and against Washington. I mean, I still think they're definitely playing for a Pac-12 title berth, and if they defeat their in-state rival, this week in Corvallis against Oregon State. Oregon will advance to the Pac-12 title game to take on USC. So once again, that's why. That's one of these huge games that's going on this rivalry weekend. I mean, if Oregon wins that, then they're really going to have their shot to still try to get that fourth seed to make a late push to get into the playoff. TCU, I've got them at 3. I think they're solidly in, and I've been saying this for weeks, guys. Hands down, TCU has the best resume and profile of anybody in the top 10. I mean, yes. Do they win convincingly? No. Do they win? Absolutely. And they have victories over 5 ranked teams, guys. I mean, what else can a team do? And they're leading. They've already punched their ticket to the Big 12 title game. They are leading right now the deepest, most competitive conference this season in college football. So the committee still has them basically just in by the hair of their chinny chin chins. In the 4 spot, I think they should be in the 3 hole. That's just what I think. They've proven to be legitimately a playoff team. Now, USC, I think they should be the next team out. Now, here's the thing with me putting LSU at number 8, guys. I've said this over and over again. I just don't know how good this team is. I mean, they've got 2 losses. One is at home. They got dismantled and dismembered by Tennessee. And that's why I've got Tennessee 1 spot ahead of them at number 7. I can't just forget. I can't unsee what I saw that day, okay? They both have 2 losses, all right? But I can't put LSU ahead of Tennessee because that was such a one-sided victory and a beatdown of the Tigers in the swamp. Or, excuse me, in Death Valley. Wow, I'm off my game tonight, guys. I'm a little tired. It's been a very condensed, short week with the holiday week. I've had a lot of overtime going on, so, I'm sorry. I'm a little off my game, guys, but bear with me. So, yeah, they went down there and won big time in Death Valley. So I can't put Tennessee behind LSU and vice versa. I can't do that. I just can't. And LSU's other loss is against a pretty solid Florida State team. I'm not quite sold on the Seminoles either because they're an ACC squad. And I just don't know how good or bad or ugly the ACC is. But I just don't know about this LSU team, guys. I just don't think, to me, they are not a top 6 team. They're not. Yes, they won the SEC West. That doesn't mean we need to put them on a pedestal, all right? Their best victories, yes, they beat Ole Miss and Alabama straight up, but Ole Miss took another loss over the past weekend, got an absolute embarrassment against Arkansas, all right? And I'll get to that game here in a little bit, and Ole Miss. I just don't know how good the SEC West is. There's a couple of good teams at the top, but I said this recently, and I'm sticking to it. Even though Tennessee lost, I still believe top to bottom the SEC East is better than the West this year. I just think it is. So LSU, I don't think they're a top 6 team. Now, if they beat Georgia, all right, in a couple weeks, and they can stumble against Texas A&M this weekend coming up, but if they're able to win their next 2 games, then like the Lannisters from Game of Thrones, all debts will be paid at that point. I will absolutely give them the props they deserve and even say at that point, they should probably be in the 4 seed for the college football playoff. Kansas State, man, just outside the top 10, the 11. I think hands down they're the best 3-loss team in the nation, all right? Their losses against a ranked Tulane, who's playing this weekend against Cincinnati for a spot in the Conference USA title game, for then a chance to grab the non-Power 5's ticket to a New Year's 6 bowl berth. So huge game there between Tulane and Cincinnati, who are both ranked, like I said, in this week's college football playoff rankings. So I think they should be they're right. They should be right there at 11. I mean, losses against Tulane, TCU, and Texas, those aren't bad losses, guys, at all. And I believe in their rivalry game this week, they win the Governor's Cup against Kansas in the battle for the Sunflower State. Then they'll advance and play TCU in the Big 12 title game. Now, once again, guys, feel free. Comment. Let me know what you think. Subscribe, like, share, rate. I ask for any sort of participation. I want to hear from you, the college football fandom, the college football universe. Now, who I believe is overrated in this week's college football playoffs, I got to start with a team that I was so high on preseason. I picked them to be one of my 4 playoff participants. I'm talking about number 14, Utah, who's currently 8-3, coming off that loss at Oregon over the weekend. They just didn't look that good. They got out-Utah'd. They got out-physicaled on the lines of scrimmage. Cameron Rising, their quarterback, threw a couple of really bad interceptions. But they got 3 losses now. I mean, against Oregon, against UCLA, and the other one now is at the Swamp against Florida, who's basically a 500 football team. So at this point, should they be ranked number 14? No, they should not be. I don't understand that, especially when they lost to number 18 UCLA, who's also 8-3. And more on UCLA next. And then my other overrated team, number 23 Texas. Guys, they weren't ranked last week. It's like all this team has to do is win, and they're going to find a way to get in the rankings. I mean, they defeated Kansas over the weekend. I guess I'm okay with them being ranked, but they should be ranked number 25. I mean, they're 7-4. I mean, their losses aren't bad, and if they win this weekend and Kansas defeats Kansas State, then Texas will advance to the Big 12 title game to take on TCU. So I think Texas just needs to be at the very ass end of these rankings. That's why I think they are slightly overrated. And that's just because they're in the running still for, like I said, what I believe is the best, deepest conference in college football this year. Now, underrated. I got a good number of underrated teams. Number 12, Kansas State. I already talked about them. I think they should be number 11, just outside the top 10. The best 3-loss team in the nation. Number 18, UCLA, who's 8-3. Yes, they just lost that classic game against USC over the weekend, but they defeated Utah straight up, and they have the same record. I don't understand this. UCLA should be ranked ahead of Utah. That's just what I think. Number 19, Tulane. I mean, Tulane is sitting there at 9-2, and one of their big wins, I said it, is over a really good Kansas State team in the Little Big Apple in Manhattan, Kansas earlier this year. In Tulane, that huge game, like I said, with Cincinnati, looking to capture and advance to the American Athletic title game. So I think Tulane should be a little bit higher in the rankings myself. And last one that's underrated, number 21, Oregon State, guys. I have been all over the Beavers this year. I mean, they were one of my preseason best bet win totals. I told you guys to take the over of 6.5, and if you did, like I did, your wallet's going to be a little bit fatter here when you collect. So here they are, 8-3, and they have 2 really close losses, guys. And if they just would have won one of those 2 games, I mean, this weekend's huge matchup with Oregon would mean even more. They lost by 3 at home, 17-14 early this season, a game which they probably should have won. And then if that would have happened, we wouldn't even be talking about USC right now. And they lost on a walk-off field goal at Washington, 24-21. So if they win one of those 2 games, guys, then I believe the way it is, if they were to defeat Oregon this week, then they'd be going to the Pac-12 title game. So I love this team. And then again, and also their non-conference victories, guys, I mean, they defeated both of the division leaders in the Mountain West. They defeated Boise State, who's currently leading the Mountain Mountain Division, and they defeated Fresno State, who's currently leading the Mountain West West Division. So great wins for them in the non-conference as well. I mean, good, impressive victories for the Beavers. Now, next one, who should not be ranked? And I don't get it. I mean, I've got it figured out, I believe. I want to hear from you, but number 20, Ole Miss. I mean, I don't understand what the committee's infatuation is with them. I've been saying the last 3 weeks, guys, this team is way overrated. They are not as advertised. They should not be ranked. I mean, they lost to LSU. They lost to Alabama. They didn't play Georgia or Tennessee from the East, the powerhouses. All right, they played Vanderbilt and Kentucky. And over the weekend, they lost by a score of 42-27 against Arkansas, who's 6-5, a 5-loss team. But yet we still just have to have a certain number of SEC teams to meet the daily quota in these rankings. I don't understand why this team is still ranked. They have proven nothing. They have beaten nobody either. Nobody. I don't understand why they're still ranked. And two, going along with that narrative, number 25, Louisville from the ACC. They're 7-4. They did defeat over the weekend at the time a ranked NC State squad. But remember, this time last week, in last week's college football playoff reaction and recap, I said the same thing. Why the hell is NC State ranked when they've beaten nobody? Having 3 losses, now they have 4. It's the same thing. It's like, the ACC has to have a certain number of team ranks to fill and meet their quota? I don't understand it. Those 2 teams should not be ranked, period. And if you think so, I want to hear from you. Make a good case for why Ole Miss or Louisville should be ranked at this time. And now, who should be ranked instead of Ole Miss and Louisville? I'm going to start off with UTSA, guys, the Roadrunners of University of Texas, San Antonio. Currently, they're 9-2. They're undefeated in Conference USA. They've come on like a wrecking ball, like Miley Cyrus in Conference USA, just rolling along. They've already punched their ticket to the Conference USA title game. Quarterback Frank Harris, guys, is one of the best-kept secrets in college football this year. And the other team that should be ranked is Coastal Carolina, who's currently 9-1. Their game over the weekend was canceled or postponed. They were supposed to play Virginia, who's taking the next couple of weeks off due to the on-campus shooting that took place there in Charlottesville. My thoughts and prayers go out to the program, the families, those affected by that on-campus shooting also. But they're 9-1, and they are the best team in the Sun Belt. I don't understand why this team's not ranked. Big game for the Chanticleers this week. They take on George Madison, who is second in the same division as the Fighting Chanticleers. So a big-time game for both of those teams. So that's who I got, who's overrated, underrated, should not be rated, and should be rated. That's who I got. So I want to hear from you, especially LSU fans. I want you to make a case for why they should be the number 5 team in the nation like they are according to the experts on the College Football Playoff Committee. I really need to hear good reasoning why that is correct. Why are they ahead of USC? Why are they even ahead of Tennessee, who throttled them? I mean, I need to hear why. I just don't get why this is. If they're, once again, an SEC West winner has got to be good, right? They've got to be in the playoff running, right? Says who? That's not a rule, okay? So I want to hear somebody make a good argument or a good case that maybe I can rebuttal. And if you get me, I'll be the first to admit you got me. I'm sold. Congratulations. I want to hear from some LSU fans about this. And quickly, when I look at this, I mean, obviously there's big stakes involved. I've already gone through some of the big games for this upcoming rivalry weekend. Big one, USC and Notre Dame face off. I believe Notre Dame came in number 15 this week. So USC, if they want to continue to stay right there knocking on the door, they've got to take care of the Fighting Irish. If not, they are no longer going to be in contention, guys. So that's a huge victory potentially for them too, another data point and another good victory for them to show the committee why they should be where I think they should be. I mean, I think they should be the fifth number 5 seed right now. So a huge game between the Trojans and the Fighting Irish, but there's no game bigger this week than the game. This year's edition of Ohio State versus Michigan, number 2 versus number 3, in a winner-take-all sort of game. Not just the Big Ten East, but potentially the Big Ten title. And whoever wins the Big Ten West, which my Hawkeyes still have a better than boxer's chance. All they got to do is take care of Nebraska on Black Friday. But whoever Iowa faces, whether it's Ohio State or Michigan, guys, it's going to take a Herculaneum type effort to knock off the Buckeyes or the Wolverines. So I assume whoever wins that game this weekend between the Buckeyes and the Wolverines will throttle whoever wins the West. But the thing is, if things play out, if USC or TCU stumble down the stretch here and this year's matchup of the game is competitive, I absolutely see the Big Ten getting both of those teams in, guys. I just do. I think they're playing for more than just a Big Ten title and knowing, hey, we pretty much have a spot locked up if we defeat the West champion. But if it's close, I see both of those teams getting in if either USC or TCU lose, one of those two, and Georgia takes care of LSU in the SEC title game. If that happens, well, it's going to be both Michigan and Ohio State, guys. I just don't see how it's not going to be. But anyway, that's all I know. Take it for what you think it's worth. There's my 2 cents. I don't really know where we go from here, but I do know this. I thank you for everything you've done for the channel, your support, your time. Check me out. I'll be back on tomorrow, guys. Like I said, I got a lot coming at you quick this week. Me and the family are heading up north for the Turkey Day holiday tomorrow to Iowa City to check out family, going to the game on Friday. So tomorrow, you definitely want to check out my Week 13 preview and picks episode. I'm going to talk more about these big-time rivalry games and, of course, my picks. You definitely want to tune in for that. And I'll also give you my updated Heisman Trophy shortlist, my candidates. I've got 4 each and every week that I keep on my list, and because of what we saw happen, definitely has been some movement on my Heisman Trophy shortlist. So you don't want to miss that. All right? So until then, guys, be looking for me tomorrow. And after all of you are my Heisman Trophy winners. I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you for all you do. Please subscribe, like, share, comment, and I'll see you tomorrow. And thank you for joining me on this episode of the Touchdown Black and Gold Vlog. See you soon.